Alright. Inshallah, hopefully the sound can be good. Inshallah, I'm going to buy an external mic. When you chip, we can clip up the mic and stuff like that. Make sure the sound is, because actually, bring that a little bit closer, and be prepared to change the thing. Bring the whole chair a little bit closer. Okay, well, too fast. Now push the camera back just a little bit. I don't care about me, really, but this is other people learning. Bring the chair a little bit towards you. Yeah, all right. I know people ain't going to be able to see the paper in this. Some of the nerve. We want to make sure that they can hear what's being said. And I ain't talk so loud. That's good. Focus. Okay, all right, anyway, we was talking about the Salaah and the Raka'ats for the prayer. Okay? Now, each prayer has 2, 3, or 4 Raka'ats. I mean, over here I got a big mouth, but I'm going to try to make sure it's recording. Because I think I listened to one of the things. Sometimes it was a little bit low. But each prayer has 2, 3, or 4 Raka'ats. We explain what the Raka'at is. A Raka'at is the unit of movement. You'll find in my folder, in the outline, the 7 basic movements of the prayer. Standing, bowing, stand back up, prostration, sit back, second prostration, and the sit back again. You'll find if you look online and some other people, you see the things where they don't sit back. And in talking about other literature, I told you about some of that. There are some differences with, some schools of thought which are both acceptable. So sitting back for a moment or not sitting back, it doesn't invalidate the Salah, whatever one you do. I prefer, and I teach you to sit back for a moment. So that completes one unit. Those 7 movements is one unit. In Arabic called Raka'at. Each prayer of the Fard, the mandatory. All right? Fajr, the morning prayer. This is before the sun comes up. When does Fajr begin? Fajr begins just when you can. Let me see. Hand me that black paper. Hand me that paper bag up there. Yeah. Okay. If you was to look at the sky at night, okay, if you was up this time of the morning, was outside a little bit, you see it, all this part over here say this is the eastern side. You'll see the darkness of the sky, and you'll start to see a little bit of gray. This part will be real dark, and this part just a little bit gray. You know what I mean? That's the dawn. The sun is all the way still down here, but the rays are reaching all over here. You understand? So now it's starting to push the night away. The light and the dark come across the sky just like if you was pulling down a curtain in a room. You know, the light, you see the light? You start pulling it down, you see it start getting, the light going. You see the light and shadow coming in, how it's changing. You see the shadow on the ground, how it start to, start to lay back up. Dark start to move like that. You see the shadow move like that? That's how it move across the sky. When that gray part, just a little bit of that gray start to come next to that black, that's when the sun is a certain point below the horizon. That's when Fajr comes. You can see with your eye. Everything okay? Good for the round?
Yeah, my grandmother, my grandmother had picked me up some food. I'm over my uncle's house right now, right? She said that she said either you come over the house tonight and pick up the food and get a ride at the same time. She was like that you have to get a ride over there first and then go home over west. I'm like
we'll talk about it after and find out what's up. All right. So if when that grayness comes, that by your visual eye you can tell it's dark and you can see it's a little bit lighter by the gray. That's the beginning of Fajr time. okay, which is approximately, now this is the time, these are calculations. Really, and Muslims, these are only supposed to be for us to use to get an idea. We still supposed to really see. In Islam, it's about proof, it's about evidence, it's about knowing for sure. It's not speculation, nor calculation, okay? All of these that we use, these prayer charts, all this is calculatory, okay? It's really supposed to be, and sometimes you'll find people arguing over 1 minute. No, what are you talking about? No, one minute, man. Look, Sahaba didn't have clocks and watches, okay? Wasn't clocks and watches. And this is calculated, approximately. You know, you see the brother? You know, it's like a watch, a digital clock, and it got like a few seconds also. It also got the seconds up there. And it's not supposed to be 5:47. And he give me a call, it's 5:46 and 35 seconds. No, what are you doing, man? No, it ain't time. Hold on. Okay? But it's better to call it a couple minutes past the time that they calculated rather than before, because it might be early. Okay? So it's better to go with you know. I mean, if you were watching the sun and the moon, watching the sky every night, and you got the watch, and you was out there, I learned how to follow the moon like this when I was overseas for a little while. And you could tell when you start watching the time, and the paper chart says 5:47, but you can tell, you can see the sky. You don't see any change in the sky until 6 o'clock. Do you know that's not accurate? You know what I'm saying? But you can't do that by one time, because you ain't gonna be able to tell the sky, because we don't watch it all the time today. You gotta watch it and know, watch it and know. But anyway, not getting long. These fingers are on the short. We'll be that. All right. So that's the beginning of Fajr time. Fajr time is what we call the dawn. Okay, when it just becomes the difference you can tell between night and dark. Allah says in the Quran, when you can tell the black thread from the white. One companion thought he meant literally the pieces of thread. So he sat in our course. They didn't have lights in their line. You know, they had, you know, matches and lanterns and other things and stuff like that. You know, and it was early morning. He had a piece of black thread and a piece of white thread. He was sitting there and he was watching it in the dark, waiting until he could see the difference between the two. You know what I mean? But that wasn't it. It's the sky. Okay. So that's when Fajr time begins. Right now, the chart is saying 5:47. So now 5:47 is the time to start. 7:02 is sunrise. That means when the whole sphere, that whole ball called the sun, when it's, if this is the horizon, this is the earth, when it's completely past this, okay? That whole ball of sun is past that, okay? Sunrise, it means the sun, not rising, it's supposed to be above the earth itself, okay? Sunrise. Between this time and this time, that's when we have the time to make that morning prayer. 5:47, right now, is the time Fajr is beginning, according to the calculation. 7:02 is sunrise. That's about an hour and 15, 16, 18 minutes, something like that. Yes?
So when do we make that the sunnah prayer?
I'm coming to that, okay? Okay? So now, after 5:47, and if you got that computer program, like some of us have on our program, on our computer, the adhan will go off automatically. Now, 5:47, let's say it's actually accurate. Now it's Fajr time, okay? So now, all the way until sunrise, the time in there is Fajr time. So you can pray Fajr any time in between these two times. The sunnahs, the extra, you make it before you pray the actual mandatory prayer. If you pray it before 5:47, it's not the sunnahs for Fajr. You understand? It's not the sunnahs for Fajr. That's a different prayer.
So you gotta pray during the time.
During the prayer time. Yes, sir. Oh, okay, good, thank you.
Get another one for that.
Alhamdulillah. Okay. Yeah, you got to do it during the prayer time. Okay? If you do it before that, just like you can't make the mandatory prayer before the time. Okay? You say, well, I'm just getting home at 3 o'clock in the morning. I think I'm not going to wake up for Fajr. I better pray my Fajr now. I'm going to sleep. By Allah's grace and mercy. My mother-in-law, she was like that. May Allah give her long life and reward. Okay? Because my mother-in-law, my children's grandmother, my ex-wife's mother, when she accepted Islam, she asked me that. She used to work a night shift. She worked from 4 to 12. And by the time she get home, it's 1 o'clock, and then it's, she unwind, this and that and the other. She called me one time and asked me, she had just first embraced Islam. Samir, can I pray Fajr before the time? You know, I come home, by the time I finish, it's about 2 o'clock. Fajr coming in about right now, 5 o'clock. You know, can I pray? I'm like, as much as I know it was difficult for her, because I understand her situation, you know what I mean, because she get home, I'm like, no, I'm sorry, you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? This woman, may Allah give her prayer, give her a lot of long life. She's a beautiful sister, and I still love her. She's my children's grandmother. She's a serious person. A lot of people thought she was faking and just doing it for her daughter and all that other kind of stuff like that. She's a Muslim. Alhamdulillah, may Allah give her prayer. But anyway, she would come home and she'd stay up all night. Because she didn't want to go to bed. She knew herself. She was like, no, if I go to bed, I ain't getting up. I ain't planning, you know. She would stay up until Fajr time. So she wouldn't miss a prayer. So the Fard has to be made in that time. Okay? So after the time comes in, you make the sunnah. Okay? Before you pray the mandatory prayer. Sunnah prayers, if you can, sunnah prayers are better to pray at your house and then the mandatory at the mosque. But you might be coming to the mosque in the morning, and in order to get there in time for the time they make the congregation, you might have to leave before Fajr get in. You know, so you make your sunnahs in the mosque, no problem. All right, just before we go real quick on this, we move to the next one. Fajr has 2 mandatory, and the 2 sunnah in front of it, which are almost like mandatory that you should never miss. Dhuhr has 4 rak'ats. These are the mandatory number of rak'ats. Remember I told you each prayer has 2, 3, or 4. Okay, the first prayer in the morning has 2. The next prayer is Dhuhr, it has 4. The next prayer in the afternoon, Asr, has 4. This prayer has 3, that prayer has 4. Fajr you have to pray before sunrise. The rest of the prayers you have to pray before the next prayer. Dhuhr's time starts at 12:21. Asr now is at 3:16. So you have between this time and this time to make that prayer. Understand? Dhuhr starts at 12, say even 12 o'clock. And Asr is at 3:16. Between 12 and 3, almost 3 hours, a little bit more than 3 hours, you got to take 5 minutes to pray. Ain't much. You know, like one guy I worked on the job tried to stop me from my prayer. I told him, people spend more time in the bathroom than they take me for prayer. You talking about my prayer? You know what I mean? I'm like, I want to hear it. You know what I mean? Tell me I pray. Okay? So, this prayer has to be made before this prayer. Now, this prayer has to be made before that prayer. And the last prayer has to be made before the middle of the night. Which doesn't necessarily mean midnight. It means the middle of the night. I'll tell you that. Okay? But, so, prayer has to be made on time. If you miss it accidentally, by chance, whatever, if you miss it, you just gotta make it up. You can never really make it up, but you gotta make it up. You just gotta.